Welcome, Solarah here. I hope you guys are doing well today. I hope that you had a beautiful new moon in Pisces experience this past weekend. Before I get into anything, I'd like to thank those of you who showed up for my first group tarot astrology Q&A. It was a beautiful time, and I'm so grateful to have met so many of you, and I look forward to continuing doing this. Like I said in my post on the community board, it's time for us to come together and reactivate one another, and that definitely was going on big time on Sunday in the group tarot astrology session. So for those of you who were interested, those of you who reached out after it had sold out, I will be doing these group sessions a lot more regularly because I believe it's time. So please make sure to avail yourself of the community board here on all or across all my YouTube channels, because that's where you'll find out any information about dates and booking. Okay, so I'd love to welcome you all. Welcome if you're visiting for the first time. As I will always say, please only stick around if you're vibing with me and my energy, not just the message. It's where we are in ascension. We are no longer hanging out where we don't belong or where we don't vibe, where our frequency is out of alignment, because it actually, we're doing harm to self when we do that. Ultimately. So I invite you, if you were attracted to the title, to stay and see if the messages speak to you. But if you have a problem with me, I advise that you click off and find a reader who you don't. And I hope you do find that person that you are properly aligned with, because it's time for all of us to rise into our power. Welcome if you've been with me for a minute. Welcome to viewers who've been here for a while. Welcome to subscribers. Thank you for being here. I can't be on here too long because I have an appointment, but if I didn't try to get in here now, I knew it wouldn't get done today. So here I am. I have a lot of downloads that have been coming through, and I've been wanting to come on here, but I also needed to recalibrate my energy a little bit because all of the channeling I did through the group tarot astrology on Sunday had me not uncentered, but I needed that time back for myself. So which is why I haven't been so active here. Okay, so a few things. There are a few names that have come up. So this might be you, this might be someone you know. So let's begin there. The first name I keep on hearing is Rochelle. It started coming through on Tuesday, and I've heard it a few times since then, which made me think of New Rochelle. Another name that was coming up was Victoria. And then other variations of Rochelle, Raquel, Rachel, I don't know, Richard, Ricard, those kinds of names. Victoria is a name, but it's also a frequency. Well, all names are frequencies, but it's like a frequency that's very connected to Six of Wands energy. So, you know, like victory and triumph. Now, this is interesting because I had a dream. And in that dream, I entered into a home, and by way of, I was invited. And in the dream, it was a friend from childhood, and she was with this man. And I believe the friend from childhood wasn't there because she was supposed to be there in terms of, like, it was just for me. I believe the significance of her name. I knew no one else with her name. And so she was in that dream with another older gentleman. And in her name means heavenly gift. It also has something to do with restoration, restitution, good fortune. Okay? And so, and then the yellow room is very connected to, well, prosperity, wealth, intelligence, intellect, solar plexus energy, as well as energies of envy. There's a lot that yellow is connected to. But what I was getting from that dream, because it showed up when it did, and it's following a bunch of downloads I've had around the restitution of our golden energies, is just that. So I spoke about this briefly in the last reading about the reunion with your golden energies, or with your true golden ratio, your true golden mean. And that's a frequential thing. I know when we think about that, we think about numbers and math and how everything is created in a certain order. It's true, as were you. But you have a very specific frequency that aligns with your own golden ratio that gives you access to higher frequencies that can't be accessed when you're out of alignment. And a lot of what the energy harvesting tactics of the matrix, things that were done to you through, the ops, karmic family members, karmic lovers, karmic friends, karmic colleagues, and all that other stuff, all of that was about keeping you in a lower frequency so you wouldn't connect with that. Because once you connect with that, it's another knockout for the ability, for, as I say, that's 1644 in my clock, for the ability for the matrix to stand. So what I'm getting here is that, once again, there's been another TKO kind of energy coming through. And what I'm getting right now, some of the things I was hearing, I'm trying to be very selective because I don't want to go too deep in this, but I do want to get some of this out today so I can continue with this message. But the story has always ended the same. That was what was coming through. The story has always ended the same, meaning that in every other lifetime, and even in past cycles, the story has ended the same. And there's something here about that story no longer being viable or being active. This time, that story will end differently. And the reason for that is, and please bear in mind, I don't give wishful readings, meaning I'm not the reader for you if you're coming to hear something because you want to believe it, as opposed to having done the work or received the downloads personally, whereby this reading is giving you confirmation. In other words, be discerning when you go to any tarot reader. We're not here, at least, no, let me speak for myself. I'm not here to read the future. I don't believe in fortune telling because I believe that we are the holders of our own fortunes and destinies, and that's what Ascension has been about. So at every turn, we're here to take that back. Now, if you want it just given to you, or you want something just to come to pass because it seems nice, etc., I'm not the person for you. Okay, so this is a reading for someone who has been conscientiously doing the work of collapsing timelines, removing densities, doing the clearing and the cleansing work to connect with their highest timelines. Whether you've been doing it for weeks, months, years, you're on track, and you know that this is a personal journey that you have to overcome within yourself. And beings like me are just here to help you with that guidance and that confirmation of what is already coming through. I want to be 1000% clear there, okay? Now, this is going to be your reading because this time the story will end because you're using the poison from the attacks to build immunity. You've been using the poison from the attacks to build immunity. That's the point of the attacks. The attacks are activations. They're here for you to alchemize. And if this is for you, then you've done that successfully. And if you tuned into my Daily Alchemy just yesterday, I posted on my other channel, Daily Alchemy with Solarah. The message was about these curses, especially the deeply embedded ones that have been rolling in your reality throughout incarnations, and for many of you since the previous golden age of Leo, or the fall of Atlantis. This has been an ongoing cycle and story that you've kept playing out throughout every lifetime because you couldn't get how to alchemize, and so you'd fall prey. Now, what is occurring now is, if this is your reading, these energies are leaving through your body. And here's the thing, they have been leaving through your body. But probably that they're stepping up a notch. What does that mean? Is that you might feel or know that you're going through an intense time of purging. And this is important for you to understand and overstand, because energy works as above, so below. The way something gets manifested from the etheric or the invisible into the micro of the material is it first must go through the mental planes, which are connected to your thoughts, the narratives and stories you believe about yourself, the narratives and the stories that have been woven around you, the way other beings talk about you. It's all to do with mental energies, but also power tactics, because the main place where you will first begin to do battle, where it becomes more conscious. The spiritual battle is invisible. Where it becomes a little bit more conscious is the mental fields, where you begin to get attacked in your thoughts. Okay, so this message is, if you've overcome that mental battle, and bear in mind that we're always going back and forth. There's no like clear-cut mental battle over next onto the next thing. It's an ongoing thing. But the mental battle is what must first be overcome. And the mental battle often has to do with overcoming your belief systems around even the possibility of things like this. So the mental battle has to do with all of the ways you've been blinded and deceived about not only who you are, but even the possibility of what exists. So there are many beings still walking around thinking that this world is real, thinking that, the material is all success is by doing this and that. Those beings are still in complete, not only spiritual, but they're in spiritual blindness, but they're completely mentally programmed out of truth. So you have to overcome the mental programs. And then you have to begin to collapse the emotional energies. And the emotional energies have to do with the nervous system responses, have to do with the triggers, have to do with those things that, because of patterning, you get drawn to, the things that your heart is attached to. So for example, I had a thing about being very drawn to beings who were very neglectful of me, because I had been mentally programmed into thinking that's what I deserved, and I'd been emotionally programmed by way of repetition of being with people who said that they loved me from the time I was a child, who actually made me believe that love was like rejection and shaming and all these other things. So emotionally, I was pulled into those energies. You have to clear the emotional aspect also, and when you've successfully done the mental and the emotional, where it's been stored in your material reality will start to come up for purging. And that will be in your home, for example, but the most prominent place is going to be the body itself, because the body holds records not only of your trauma, but of matrilineal trauma. And if you kept on being stuck in emotional and mental cycles that kept repeating themselves, what you were also doing was building certain diseases, building certain imbalances that either manifested fully into disease, is on its way to manifesting into disease, or will later on. Because that's part of the matrix. The matrix fuckery also is that disease is a direct result of, and I'm not a doctor, so this is just my opinion. This is just what I've been shown. That disease is a result of emotional stagnation. Okay? Disease is a result of emotional stagnation. And why is that? Well, because before anything comes from above, the spiritual and etheric reality, into the micro reality of the material, because it's a smaller reality than the etheric, which is truly infinite, it must go through the mental fields. and then everything is birthed through the waters, the emotional fields. All realities are birthed through the waters. So disease is birthed through the waters. Disease is birthed through your emotional resonance. Okay? And the lower you are in frequency, the more you hold on to lower vibrational realities, meaning, and when I say lower vibrational, I'm not talking about that shit that people love to use in the spiritual community to shame other people with. I'm talking about vibrations based upon your experience that you found yourself trapped in. Hold on 1 second, let me grab my vibrational scale. Those of you who've been rolling with me for a while, you know I like to take this out from time to time, okay? As divine beings, you are designed to live up here. This is very expansive energy, with the top one being enlightenment. Then we've got peace, joy, love, reason, acceptance, willingness, neutrality, okay? Below this, we have courage, pride, anger, desire, fear, grief, apathy, guilt, shame. With shame being the lowest vibration and the most dense. And you see, it's the most constricting. Constricting. That's an important thing to get. That when you are energetically trapped in shame, in apathy, in guilt, and grief, and fear, you become imprisoned, energetically speaking. And when you become imprisoned, you naturally move into survival and stress states. And then you begin to produce realities from that. And the realities that you produce will never be in divine alignment because you weren't designed to be caged. Okay? And this is energetically speaking. Okay? And this is an important thing to know because many of us were perpetually abused. Whether it was spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, a mix of all of the above. And then one of the worst things you can do to a victim is then silence them with shame. Because what that does is it means that that abusive energy, which is very, very powerful because it's charged a lot of the time by hate, and behind it are very... a lot of the time very powerful lower vibrational entities. When that energy enters into your reality, into your energy field by way of abuse, and it's allowed to stay and form a narrative in your mental reality whereby it becomes a story that you now connect your truth with. In other words, if an abuser constantly tells you you're worthless and you begin to believe that shit, you're going to begin to feel that, and that's going to trap you in shame. And you're going to continue to produce states whereby you are constantly producing realities that you have to escape from because you're constricted. I hope that this is making sense. Now, the whole point of ascension, the healing aspect of ascension, is becoming aware of this, and the clearing of the mental energies, because the most important thing we're here to do is clear our waters, restore our waters in ourselves and on the earth, because it is through the waters that all things are birthed. And if your emotional resonance, if your waters are out of alignment, everything you produce materially will be. In other words, if you are living in states of shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, or desire, which keeps you ever chasing and never getting, then what you are doing is producing imbalanced states, and that energy will continue to grow and create and materialize things like illness, financial blocks, interpersonal blocks. So all of this is happening by way of the programming that is occurring. This doesn't even begin to address the conscientious ways you're being attacked through spell work. This is just to do with like the way that we were groomed in the matrix, especially if you're more empathic or more intuitive, or you have more emotional depth. I talked about this, I think, in the most recent New Moon Tarot Astrology Ascension report on my other channel, Solarah Rises, as well as I think in the last reading I did here, how your emotional resonance is what produces your wealth. Your wealth is materialized through your ability, divinely, your divine alignment to wealth is material. I want to be very careful of that, because there are people who are running around karmically transferring disease in order to be wealthy and all manner of things. But to be divinely aligned and be wealthy, which means you're wealthy in all planes, not just one, right? Your waters have to be calibrated. And what we've been dealing with through this new moon in Pisces, because Pisces is the sign of the zodiac that is connected to emotional mastery, is wherever you are on your journey, you've been being helped to recalibrate your waters for your next level. And every single time you recalibrate your waters higher, you break out of the patterning that contributed to the old karmic loop. And I've said it before, these spells work in layers. And so we've been busting out of layers, okay? But I really do have this sense, not only sense, I've been seeing the synchronicities and events that have been occurring to like confirm this, that what has been occurring in the mental and the emotional fields is getting ready to materialize in a very big way. And when I say that, I'm not only talking about you on a personal level. Understand and overstand that your personal energy is a reflection of the collective energy, and the collective energy is a reflection of your personal energy, because that's how energy works. We're not separated from any of this. In other words, as you take back a hold of your emotional resonance and come into divine alignment to begin to produce true abundance back on the earth, the true abundance of the new earth begins to come forth also, and therefore also puts an end to the matrix fuckery. Yes, so this is what is happening and why, okay? And so we're being helped with, we're always being helped with these planetary movements. And another energy that was coming through, they had me watch this show on Netflix. It just came out here in the UK, at least. It's called Damsel. And it was an okay movie. It was a little bit, what's the word I would, contrived, you know? Or maybe I feel that way because I know what they were trying to accomplish. But I will say to you that they release things when they want to show you things, because they have to show you what's going on without telling you what's going on. So they pretend it's a movie and fantasy and everything. And in this movie, there was there were these glowworms that I won't talk too much about the movie, but the main protagonist came up across these glowworms that ultimately helped her passage out. Now, we are coming up, because I did some research, because I thought that the worm moon, we'd already had it. But it turns out the worm moon is the full moon in March. It's the first full moon of spring, I think is what it is. And that's actually coming up. That's the full moon in Libra. And yet I'm still getting this Virgo energy that has to do, Virgo's connected to the Hermit, which is the card that liberates you into your truth. It liberates you into a new cycle. It liberates you into the wheel of fortune. Okay? And where you are on that wheel is completely dependent upon whether you've been completely loyal to self, or whether you've betrayed self and others to try to trample on other beings. Because right now, the true karmic balance of the earth is being restored. You see, the reason why so much injustice has occurred within the matrix is because they reset the karmic scales, and they did that by way of like offsetting accounts, by transferring their shit onto other beings and transferring it especially onto innocence, which is why it was such a big child sacrificing situation. I'm not even just talking about the actual happening of that, but also on an energetic level, the whole matrix was based upon wounding children, wounding your inner child perpetually to keep you in a state of arrested development. And why would that be? Well, because unless you rise back and you hold your true frequency, you would get stuck in the matrix reincarnation cycle. Your way out has always been by realignment to your true frequency, which is why it's always been a frequency game, which is why at every turn they've done everything to keep you trapped and constricted in the lower vibration so that you couldn't break out, and then you didn't know and you weren't connected cosmologically to the intel you needed in order to align yourself until more of the restrictions on the planet began to dissipate because of ascension. And now you can access that again for as long as you clear the densities in your own mind that stop you from being able to connect with it. But what has always held us here are our lower emotions. Remember, your reality is birthed through your emotions. So if you die in a state of fear, if you die in a state of guilt, if you die in shame, if you die outside of your true frequency, then you're vibrating still in the energy that aligns with the matrix. And this is how they use the moon to turn you around as a soul capturing device, because you'd go to the light and you'd come back around because you hadn't reached the frequency to get out of the trap. I hope I'm making sense. And then they did other things in order to trap you too. Like, for example, with religion, the last rites that priests will come and give people when they're dying, they will come and they will lock you down. And so many people have been in church their whole lives signing the cross, not realizing that what that actually is doing is closing down their main energy centers, consenting to that. And then the priest comes and closes your third eye. That's the last sacrament. They do it on your forehead, right? It's the closing of the third eye. So that even if you get somewhere even if you are able to move past like on your way out of here, you still can't see beyond the matrix. I hope that makes sense. So everything's about shutting you down emotionally, because the more emotionally expanded you are, the more you're able to hold everything, the more not only the more divinely abundant are you, but you're also designed to not live in the lower realms. You're designed to be able to travel throughout. So a lot of you with very high emotional quotient were purposely abused by other beings in order to keep you, and it was very systemic, very, social organization, and then energetic, because there are entities behind these people. You do not battle with flesh and blood, but it's the entities that are attached to people based upon their giving up of their power. Okay, so and this is many of your stories, when you are abused in any way, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, but especially mentally, emotionally, and physically, where you're actually conscious of the abuse, and you are silenced from speaking it, you are swallowing the energy of the abuse that has been directed towards you, and you are storing it in your emotional resonance as if it's part of you. Okay, so this is one of the reasons why abusers like to silence their victims. It's not, it of course has to do with the obvious, like they don't want you telling on them, they don't want to be caught, they don't want to go to jail, some of them, they don't want their reputation to be sullied, they don't want problems associated with their own choice, right? But on an energetic level, it's because when you block someone from speaking their truth, it will manifest in them as sickness and disease, and it also makes the victim a holding container energetically for what the abuser doesn't want to take responsibility for. And this is an important thing for you to know, because your throat unlocks the emotional repression that lowered your frequency to begin with. Your throat unlocks the emotional repression that lowers your frequency. So the reason why many of you were stuck in shame prisons, energetic prisons that were powered by shame, right, is because you were constantly denied your truth. You were constantly unable to, and even if you did speak your truth, you were rejected, you were renounced, you may have been ridiculed, you weren't believed, you weren't helped. For some of you, you had things occur and you took it into their fucked up judicial system and they did nothing for you except cause you more strife. You get what I'm saying? Which causes more stress, more trauma. And the more trauma you carry that's not processed, the more you lower your frequency and align yourself with realities that produce sickness, disease, financial imbalances, interpersonal situations. Now, this is important because what is happening right now is those abusive energies that hijacked your body and produced patterns within your biological cycles that then manifested or began to manifest or were going to manifest disease are being assisted in being cleared out right now. So a lot of the purging is physical. Because, and I've said it before, and this is for those of you who are resonating with this, and also those of you who are assisting this, because this is happening for many, and many are pushing it back. Being a purging of these things, and instead of connecting with the message that is coming through and utilizing that to be the medicine, are responding in fear. And when you respond in fear, when you match the energy that wants to leave through your body that trapped you in fear, and you begin to connect with it again with fear, then you're just feeding its continued proliferation. No, I'm talking to people who are connecting with these energies. You're seeing what's happening, and then you're taking action to assist it to come forth, to assist it to clear and to cleanse out of your system. Okay? And that's going to be a completely personal thing, how you do that. Okay? I spoke very briefly about that in my Daily Alchemy. You can, if I remember, I'll post it below from yesterday. Okay? But being constantly victimized and shamed into silence. Being constantly victimized and shamed into silence puts your energy, body, and frequency on lock. It locks you out of your true frequency that aligns you with all of your divine resources. And what it feels like has happened is that lock is broken. And it's not just for you, it's for all of us. But what we do with that energy now, moving forward, is going to be completely on us. You see, once upon a time, and this has been going on since the previous golden age, there was a constant trading of divine frequency beings, or those of you who have very high emotional resonance, because you're beings who can go through all areas, access all areas. You can go and visit the underworld and not become manipulated by those energies, and you can go to the highest. This is what the Scorpio energy also facilitates us all in reconnecting to, which is why in Scorpio season for many of you, this is where shit began to get really tough and shift. And I also spoke about that in Scorpio season, between Libra and Scorpio season, this hanged man energy, this energetic window we were passing through, where there was an attempt to flip everything, to continue to add power to the inversion, right? And it feels like through this Piscean window with the sun in Pisces, that energy is being flipped back on its head. It's going to be flipped back on its head in your life in accordance with how you moved through this cycle. Okay? There's no more feeding. So I was talking in yesterday's Daily Alchemy about how for some of you who've been in hot pursuit by these karmic energies and entities, especially bloodline related family stuff, that you've been clearing. Some of you have been clearing it your whole lifetime. You know, you've been clearing it for years. And you've been doing it diligently, knowing that it would come to an end. And every time you think you're getting to the end, something else would occur. It feels like... for some of you, you've reached the end of the road with this if you're experiencing the purging of this through your body and you're facilitating it, because there's no more possibility when you've mastered how to work with your body in terms of how your body stores the energies that feed the spells that they use to attack you. When you have mastered how to deal with that, there's nothing else they can attack. And that's when the game is over, because the final place where this has to play out is materially. It's played out spiritually, you already won. It played out mentally at every turn when these energies tried to psychically attack you back into shame. You overcame and you spoke your truth against it. And in that, you recalibrated your waters. And you did the cleansing and the purging of your waters. And now the things that have been birthed from the waters that connected with your despair cannot stay. They must go. And they must go because for as long as they continue to linger in your fields, something from the old cycle still has mastery over you. Now this message is not for everyone, because this is not everyone's story. Again, this is going to align with you if this is what you're feeling, sensing, and this is what you've been intuiting in your own reality right now. So as there is nothing else for them to feed on, no more to feed on in your etheric, in the etheric planes concerning you, in the mental planes, they can't attack you in the mind anymore concerning you. They don't have the power to move you emotionally anymore. And as you master your own body and health and natural rhythms and routines that keep you being true to yourself instead of the schedules, the routines, the practices that these beings who were invested in your death tried to program you into, as you do that, you free yourself on every single plane. And the full moon 1717, as I say that, the full moon in Libra is here to act as an energetic window of elimination, especially bolstered by the fact that it's an eclipse and it's a full moon. Okay, so this is like triple whammy energy, and not for nothing, I mentioned that the full moon in Virgo was opening some kind of extraction vortex that was going to reach a climax around the full moon in Libra. This is a heavy purging cycle, and some people are still purging mentally, some people are still purging spiritually, they're just waking up to the truth. Some people are purging emotionally, they are disassociating any kind of emotional heartstring energy they have to those who have violated them energetically or in any way. And some of you, it's happening on a physical level. Okay, now as you move through these energies and clear them out of your physical reality, you will be able to better sustain the frequency that you need in order to now sustain your new earth reality. So you will no longer be going through these cycles of getting somewhere and then having the bottom fall out. You're no longer trapped in the matrix Saturnian, malefic Saturnian ring magic. I hope that makes sense, because you have mastered every single level. And this is going to be going on straight through, it's going to be very highlighted through Taurus season, through Virgo season, and then of course Capricorn season, because those are the earth signs that are grounding and solidifying this. But especially from now until Virgo season, a lot of you are going to see, if this is your message, things transform very rapidly for you materially, because now you're in alignment. And as you come into alignment, you're opening the door for beings who are still collapsing these things spiritually, because they're just waking up. They're just collapsing these things mentally and emotionally to also follow suit. So there's no more ability for these energies to feed on you when you get to that point. And when the ancestral entities that were feeding upon you and were still trying to get back at you for more feeding can no longer access you at all on any level, then the bloodlines that they were bolstering and buttressing will then begin to perish. And then you'll begin to see the material fall of these false matrix legacies. The biggest ones, as well as the ones in your own life, in a myriad of ways. So that's what I have for you. I've got to run, but another thing that was coming through a lot was Memphis. Like Memphis, Tennessee. I've never visited. I've always wanted to pay a visit to that part of America, but I've never made it there. I haven't made it there. Memphis, Tennessee, which of course is named after Memphis, Egypt, which was once upon a time the ancient capital, I believe, of Lower Egypt. And very interestingly enough, Memphis actually means road of the ram-headed sphinxes. And Aries is connected to the ram. And sphinxes speak about that energy. It's a very protective energy that you can only pass if you know how to answer the riddle. We're coming up in Aries season, while the North Node is in Aries, to an energy point that only beings who have done what it is to pass the Sphinx energy will walk forward. And when you cross that line or that energetic threshold, then nothing that has tried to hold you before that out of your sovereignty, Aries' sovereignty, will be able to have a hold on you anymore. Not spiritually, not mentally, not emotionally, and not materially. Because you use the poison from the attacks to build complete immunity. And you realized that every time an attack came, it was showing you your own weaknesses. Whenever an attack comes, it's showing you your own weak points. It's showing you where you're still vulnerable. So you didn't cower to the psychic attacks and continue to believe shit about yourself that wasn't true. You didn't allow yourself to be roped in by beings who wanted to emotionally manipulate you out of your truth, or even emotionally manipulate yourself out of your truth because of your own wounding and familiarity of cycles. And then lastly, however it's playing out for you in your physical reality, you're overcoming it by taking back mental and emotional authority and training your mind to align with truth, the truth that manages to collapse those densities and blocks that want to come in the way of your physical reality to make you still believe the matrix lie. So with every attack that seems to have in some way infiltrated your reality, you are given the opportunity to see where you are weak still, where you need to focus and get your power back. That's the point of the attacks. This is why I like to be so careful with my messages, because if you're still in that place, and it's okay if you are, you're still in that place of every time an attack happens, falling into fear and feeling bad about yourself and believing that you're not powerful enough to overcome it, then you still got to overcome a lot of the mental fuckery. You still got a lot of clearing to do and calling back of your power, because you're not a victim. And for as long as you allow these energies and attacks to continue to try and victimize you, as fucked up as it is, I'm not saying you weren't victimized, but you're not a victim. They want you to stay a victim through their victimization. But actually what it's showing you is the areas of weakness that you need to be paying attention to, clearing and calling your power back on. It's like people who engage in contact sports like boxing or any other sport. You learn how to get better when you are put against a really good opponent who knows how to fuck you up. Because then it's only then that you begin to see your weaknesses and your vulnerabilities, that you can then hone the energy in on and get stronger. So they're no longer places they're no longer like liabilities. And that's where we are on this ascension journey, if this message has been resonating with you. So I'm going to get going. For all information on how to work with me, you can check out my website, solarah.info, and you can find information of how to book me for soul recovery sessions, tarot astrology readings, reports, and divine alignment readings. Those are the things I offer over there. So you can check me out over there. I want to thank you guys for being here. Thank you to those of you who donate to my channel and my ability to show up here. It's really very much appreciated. Thank you to those of you who are supporting me across platforms, across my other YouTube channels, as well as on my Substack. If you'd like more information on how to donate or how to join my Substack or my other channels, all of that will be in the description box below and also pinned in the comment section. So I will see you guys again soon. I'm sending you love, joy, peace, bliss, stability. It's your time. That old story has ended. Take care.